going to step in and talk a little bit about the evolve loop, right? Now, so I mentioned that the evolve loop, right, is what helps enable the solve loop, right? This is our system level and our organizational level processes. This is what helps keep us in a continuous improvement mode, right? This is where we have quality improvement measures, refinement of high-value articles, continuous improvement of the processes that support the solve loop, where we also talk about, where we also look at root cause analysis, right? Identifying high-impact improvements to products, to documentation, right? Where we can feed things like problem management in those. So we're going to talk about a few key points from the evolve loop. So we're looking at content health, process integration, right? And some self-service success here. Okay? So just some of the practices in the evolve loop, right? So we're going to look at content health. Now, content health begins with the content structure. A well-defined structure is going to be fundamental for KCS, right? That's how you're capturing your experience. It's how you're capturing what you're putting into a KCS article, right? So you want to have a good format or a good template because you're looking to capture certain metadata. KCS looks to create content that's good enough to be findable and usable by its target audience. Right? And so the evolve loop governs what that article structure will be, where the solve loop takes into consideration what that article structure is in the form of capturing the information and creating that information. But you really want to make sure that you have a good, solid structure, and of course you want to keep it simple, but you want to make sure you're capturing the appropriate metadata. You also want to develop and enable processes around internal and customer feedback, and also how you're going to respond to these and improve your solutions. So you want to have a closed-loop feedback system for KCS, really, and for your knowledge base. You want to know how things are going. You want to know what people think about the system, and you want to make sure that you have ways to address it. These are all held, right? These are the types of things that are done in the evolve loop. These are your systemic level processes that you'll keep an eye on, right? And then you want to create high value solutions, right? So evolve loop articles. So things that are created not as part of solving the customer's problem, but things that are actually created separately from solving the customer problem. They are high value solutions. Evolve loop articles are high-value articles, right? They're going to be created by people, typically knowledge domain experts or subject matter experts in certain areas that are responsible for a portion of the knowledge base in some way, right? Your knowledge domain experts are going to look at patterns. They're going to look at trends. They're going to look at what's happening in the solve loop, what activity is going on with the agents, what articles are getting the most action, what articles are, in what categories are we creating lots of articles, right? So evolve loop content is considered to be of a higher value because it's actually derived from the usage. So we mentioned that you want to focus your time on demand and on usage. Well, this is just one of the ways to do that, is to look at those patterns, look at those clusters, find out the common themes, issues, procedures, and build out better quality solutions. Typically about 20% of your knowledge base would come from high-value solutions. Okay? And then so some considerations around how you're creating your content, right? How you're keeping your content health is your life cycle. So what's the life cycle of your article, right? Well, with KCS, the article life cycle is a little different than with traditional knowledge management. It's not so much an assembly line type flow where I create the article and then Veronica reviews the article and then Dick approves the article, right? KCS article lifecycle actually works on article states. So the article would be in a variety of different statuses based on its usage, based on who wrote it, based on the value that article has, right? And so the life cycle states that you'll be considering would be things like a work in progress, who can see it externally, whether it can be seen internally, right? And you'll develop practices and you'll develop the procedures that you follow around those life cycle states and transitioning from one state to another. With KCS, people who have the appropriate privileges can take an article and put it in a published status for your customers to see right there in the workflow, kind of getting us the most value out of that article by putting it out there as quickly as you can. All right? And then the last thing that we'll look at is other repositories content. So within KCS, there's a recognized value in knowledge that might not be in the knowledge base or repositories that you might not have control over. Right? There's a wealth of information out there, and there's different types of content. So there's structured content, which is content that you put in your knowledge base, you put a good structure around, and you put out there. And then there's unstructured content, which is what lives in those other repositories. You don't have control over it, or you can't enforce a certain structure around it, but there might still be some value there, right? And so we cover a number of these areas, right? So within RightAnswers, right, we can pull in content from other repositories, right? We can look at other different things, but we're going to start with the article structure right here. So if you look, there's a number of different things that we have in the article structure. This is a how-to solution that we're looking at, right? And you could see solution, you could see details, you could see symptoms. You could also see items that are kind of across all article types. So we have our title, our summary, our keywords, all right? And so you could see a number of different things that we have here. We also capture the workflow status, right? So which state it might be in. We also capture, the visibility, who might be able to see that, and a number of other different pieces of metadata that would go along with that article, right? And you have the ability in RightAnswers to define all of these so that you can align them directly with KCS in the way that meets the needs of your business. Okay? And so you can see just a quick view of some of the things that we have. We have a number of article statuses. We can see who owns it. We can see the visibility. We can also see in red an article that's been flagged for review. So somebody who didn't have rights to fix the article directly flagged this article and said, okay, well, this, the feedback that I've provided on this, be it a customer or be it an internal person, is available here, and it actually is a call for action on the knowledge base side to do that. Okay? And so what we have here, the last part, is you didn't see this earlier in some of the search results, but so I wanted to take a snap and just show you this here. We have a tool that we call Rake, which is the RightAnswers Knowledge Explorer. This is our tool to bring in or federate information from outside or external sources into your knowledge search results. All right, and so we can crawl a number of different things: websites, file shares, old databases, other knowledge bases that you may have had while you're transitioning, right? And we bring that all in so that you have access to other repositories' content from a single search. All right, and so there's that. And then high-value articles, right? So we talked about some high-value articles, and one of the things that you wind up finding or that you wind up building when you're building high-value articles is you typically find a cluster or a pattern of articles that are seemingly related to the same thing but are different solutions. They're different solutions with common symptoms. So there might be one symptom such as, there's static on my phone that in the long run actually turns out that it could be 4, 5, or 6 different types of solutions that would correspond to that. And so with those, they recommend a tree-like structure to help you take that common symptom and get down to a specific result. And what RightAnswers has to support this is what we call decision trees. And you can kind of see this here, right? Password reset assistance. Let's determine your role. I need help with my password. Very first thing, well, what's your role? And now we start collecting little bits of information by asking these questions and leading someone down a path to get to their final solution, which is most specific for them, right? And just a quick look at that entire path, just for this particular decision tree, you could see there's a difference between being an employee and a contractor, being full or part-time, right, and having ever reset your password on your own. Because if you've done it in self-service, we would direct you that way. If you haven't done it in self-service, maybe we would direct you a different way to sign up for that. And so very kind of basic question could have multiple possible answers. And these are considered high-value articles because they help guide either a self-service user or a new agent through the process by taking a common symptom and getting them down all the way into the solution that they need, right? And then procedural solutions. And so you could take a look at this slow internet connection solution, and it has a procedure that it would follow. You'd have a checklist of items that you would go through to solve this problem, right? This would work for your self-service. It would also work for your internal. But what RightAnswers does is actually allows you to create solutions. We call them right path solutions that have checklists that we keep track of where you are in solving that problem or how far through the process you are, right? So we can keep this and we line this up to help you and guide you through your procedural problems and get down kind of to that end point so that you can follow through, right? And so all of this is about self-service success, right? So all of KCS, all of Making Knowledge First is all about getting great knowledge, right? And all about enabling the different channels and all about putting something out there and putting things out there for self-service success. And so what we've seen as being important for self-service success are three things, right? Volume and speed, findability, and navigation. So you need to have a sufficient number of articles that are going to be available to people in a timely manner. If you don't have enough articles in your knowledge base, people aren't going to find even something related to what they're looking for. Findability. The articles, you have to be able to find them. A customer has to be able to type in what they're looking for and find something that's related to the way they said it, even if you feel that the way they described it doesn't line up with what the issue is. Right? And then navigation, right? The experience. The portal itself is an experience. Veronica mentioned before that your channels are an experience. Those channels have to be fed by something, right? Without proper knowledge behind those channels, you're not going to have the success that you're looking for.
So when you are using your self-service channels, there's an organization called the TSIA. It's Technical Services Industry Association. And they had done a report, and one of the survey questions is that they have found that of all self-service searches, less than half are actually successful. That means when people are looking for their own answers, more than half the time they end up picking up the phone and calling an agent. And we find that kind of really low because from our clients, now these are people who are using RightAnswers, with their client success managers and improving their knowledge all the time, our clients show 78% of self-service channel searches are successful. So you're, increasing those self-service searches, and I'm trying not to say that 5 times fast, but think of how many fewer calls are actually coming into your service desk. Think of how much more productive your employees are going to be when they can go to their self-service portal, look for an answer, and find it. And what that also does is when people actually find answers to their questions, they're going to keep coming back. And your adoption is going to go up, and your long-term use for your individual employees is definitely going to go up. Now, we also do surveys of our client base, and we've asked them, of your web self-service, why do you think it's been successful for you? And 21% say, well, it's because we've got a great interface. 26% say, the search is awesome. It brings me back the right things when I'm looking for them. And over half of the people attribute it to the knowledge, and the knowledge base being current, accurate, clean. And those are 3 important things. So think about how much knowledge can have an impact on your organization.